All right. Good morning, everybody. It's Chelsea Rosti here from the city of Montrose. Sorry for the minute late start. We're actually experiencing some technical difficulties with the webinar platform this morning. And so you'll see Kate Adams on the phone trying to get one of our panelists to join. And then we're going to try to get our second panelist, Kate, the other Kate, on video as well. So it might take us just a moment. But while everybody is sort of getting signed in and joining the call, if you can just say hello via the chat function should be at the bottom of your screen. Just say hello, your name, and what business you're with or who you're with this morning. We want to hear from you. And again, this is a webinar, so you'll only be able to see the panelists on the webinar this morning, and everybody else, you won't be able to see your video, but we'll be able to answer your questions from chat. And if you have questions, it's a great time to talk about now as well. There's a Q&A function also down at the chat. Kate Adams will be monitoring Q&A throughout the call. So that'll be very good way to get your questions answered from either of the panelists or myself. Last night was the election here in the city of Montrose. And so just wanted to give a shout out of congratulations to those winners. It looks like we have Barbara Bynum on here and Dave Frank and Roy Anderson. So congrats to the three of you and welcome Dave Frank to City Council. Looking forward to a lot of great times in the future. All right, well, it looks like we've got a lot of really diverse group here this morning. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Eric Feely. Hi, Mary from the Rec District. Carrie Hawks, good morning. Daniel Carnes, good morning from El Dorado. Teresa Bailey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm just gonna take a quick pause and check in with Kate Adams on our other panelists really fast. Kate, what do you got for us?
They should be logging in just a second. So,
okay, great.
Sorry, technical difficulties.
Okay. So really quick this morning, I'm going to share my screen and remind everybody about the small business relief package. And then we're going to turn it over to Kate from DOLA, who's going to talk to us about sort of what's after this, what's after the pandemic. How is the state thinking about where we go from here and what things will look like as we start to be resilient and come out of this. So Kate and I have been working together with a committee from across the state to think about these type of things. So she's going to chat with us about that. And then we do have Mark Catlin, representative from District 58, hopefully joining us here shortly. And he's going to give us an update on just the things from the state perspective from his eyes, and hopefully some encouraging words also for the business community. So I'm going to share my screen here really quickly, and we are going to take a look at this. Sorry. All right, so as a reminder, the City of Montrose has launched the Small Business Relief Package. The first thing on the list is the Montrose Small Business Emergency Loan Fund. And so we've already received several applications for this. Thank you to those of you who have applied. We're getting those processed and trying to turn those around just as quickly as possible. But if you're new to the call and this might be the first time you're hearing about this, businesses within the City of Montrose just have to prove a significant loss due to COVID-19. There's up to $5,000 available per business, and there's no interest on these loans, and we are allowing 12 months of no repayment, and we're also very flexible on the terms for these loans. And so just wanted everybody, there's Mark, hello. Want everybody to be aware of that, and applications will be selected on need. City Council approved $300,000 for this loan for the first portion of it, and we're hoping to be able to lend all of that money out to businesses who need it in the community. The second thing available to small businesses here in Montrose is a 90-day sales tax deferral. So again, this is for businesses with $2 million or less in gross annual revenue, and businesses must still continue to report sales tax, but they can contact our finance department if they'd like to have a sales tax deferral. And we did some of the calculations, and we think that this might keep about $3 million of cash in the pocket of small business owners as they navigate this time, and then we can work out payment arrangements on the other side. And then finally, we have cooperative marketing grants available. So 3 businesses must work together, and even 2 businesses, maybe, if you have a compelling pitch, let us know, and we'll be paying up to $1,000 of marketing expenses for a marketing campaign that includes these businesses working together. We do have some graphic design assistance and applications are selected also based on need and ability to work together. So that's really about all I have. I'm going to be turning it over to Kate from DOLA. And Kate, I wish we could get you on the video view, but we'll just go with it. And if you want to email me your slides, I can try to get them up in the meantime. Otherwise, all you.
Hey everybody, this is Kate Guibert from the Colorado Resiliency Office. My office is housed in the Department of Local Affairs. And Chelsea, I'm going to send you a couple of slides. We don't need them necessarily for the presentation, but it might be useful for people to look at them after the fact. Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be on this phone call. Montrose is one of my most favorite communities, and I don't say that to all the communities, but don't tell anybody that I said you were one of my favorites. And it's really in part because you guys embody so much of what I think of when I think of a resilient community, which is that you're really connected, you all rally together, you have a really nimble and responsive city organization, which I'm impressed by daily. There's also really, really great food and coffee and beer to be found in your town. So I always love to come and visit. So thank you for having me on this call this morning. So just a little bit about the Colorado Resiliency Office and what we do. We are housed in the Department of Local Affairs. And this office really formed in response to the 2013 floods in the Front Range and was set up to help communities think about disruption and change on various scales. And obviously we are facing one of the greatest disruptions of our time right now in this very moment. So this office does two things. It kind of on the front end helps communities kind of do adaptive planning, think about change, think about strategies to hedge against some of the disruptions they might be facing, whether that's fire or flood, loss of major industries. We think about disruptions in a wide way. We also support communities on the other side, which is the long-term recovery side. So that's what I'm going to touch on today. As Chelsea mentioned, we have put together what we're calling the Rural Adaptation and Futures Committee, which is looking at the long term of COVID-19 recovery. I used to run a small business, a small ice cream store, and I have been thinking a lot about what I would be doing right now in that business to try to respond, survive. And I know that thinking about long-term recovery right now, when you're in the weeds of SBA or paycheck protection, trying to keep your head above water, it's really hard to think ahead. So I understand that. And what we set this committee up to do, this Adaptation and Future Subcommittee, is to really start to think about what does the transition to open look like? And also, what does the next 2 to 5 years look like? Some things have probably changed in our economic landscapes that we need to start to think about. And what are some of the strategies that we can help communities with to do that? As it relates particularly to businesses, one of the things that I am trying to encourage right now in the world of long-term recovery is that we don't want to let the virus drive all that we do. We want to take back some of the control, which I know is hard to think about doing right now when things change hour by hour, day by day. But long-term recovery and thinking a little bit ahead enables us to take back some of that control. And so I'm going to send these slides to Chelsea. And in fact, let's see if I can do this while I'm simultaneously talking. I'm not a good multitasker. To talk a little bit about business continuity planning in a 2.0 way. This is something that I think businesses can and should be doing right now. And even if you just take an hour or two in these chaotic times and do this, I think you'll be a lot better off. So this is a little bit different than traditional business continuity planning in the way that I've been thinking about it as it relates to this event. And that is, we don't exactly know how the next few months are going to unfold, but we know that we'll probably start to move towards some level of kind of a back open for business in our communities. And what that looks like, it'll probably be a transition. It may be that we're in this takeout delivery model for a while longer. It may be that we start to have a model where we can start to allow some customers in, but we need to think about what the protocols are that we have in place to do that. So essentially, this is some good old-fashioned scenario planning that I would encourage everyone to do. I'm going to send 2 slides to Chelsea that will help give us a little more context, but I am having a hard time doing it while I'm talking. So we'll have to look at it after the fact, and I'll try to create the vision for it now. Essentially, think about two different futures if you're a business. So let's say in the next few months we start to open back up, and we don't know exactly what that's going to look like. So we start to control this virus. We start to get onto the downslope of cases. There's an opportunity to start to define, what strategies you need to have in place for your business to start to slowly open back up, what that might look like in various worlds. And then another scenario that we all need to consider, and I'm not saying that this is the way that the world's going to go, but it is a possibility, is what happens if the virus reemerges a few months down the line, and just put in place some of the things that as a business you want to do. So, for example, I started to call out in this control of virus world, and when we start to think about opening back up in the next few months, start to define what some of your issues and opportunities might be. So an issue might be customers are wary of gathering, that there might be less tourism in the near term. But an opportunity is that people are really going to be ready to connect. And another opportunity is that we have proven that we are really nimble and adaptive in our business models and the way that we've responded to this event, that we have tried some things, changed things rapidly. And while I know we don't all want to be in a cycle of adapting our business models every 2 days, we've probably learned something. We may have created a product or service that would be super interesting to continue going forward, that's relevant in another world. And we've also learned how to maybe try out some different models. And so that's an opportunity that I think we've created here that we can take forward. You may have created a product that's going to be a great product for the next 6 months to 3 years. So to take some of those things with us. And then once you've defined some of those issues and opportunities, then you start to develop the strategy. So what are the safety protocols you might want to have in place? How would you message to customers that will make them feel safe to come into your place of business? What are some marketing tools that you can use that are built around this? Okay, we can start to think about reconnecting. How do we do that that's safe? That really build on sense of community in place. So I'm going to send Chelsea a couple of these slides. This is actually built on something that McKinsey and Company put out around scenario planning. And while McKinsey really looks at big corporations, I am starting to think about how we boil this down to apply to small businesses, because it's really important. It's really going to help us, once again, take back control of the next few months to a couple of years of our lives. So that's what I'm encouraging. There will be more tools and resources coming out of this committee that hopefully you guys will start to see in your community. Chelsea's on that committee. So we're thinking about this stuff to help you think about it. And I would open it up to questions now.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate. And questions will be coming through the Q&A function, so we'll wait for a second to see if there's anything that comes in. And again, I just apologize to everybody for the technical difficulties this morning, so we can't see Kate's lovely face or her slide presentation, but we will get it out to everybody afterward. And while we're giving it just a second for any questions to come in, wanted to say good morning to Ben Norton and Elise from Delta County. Looks like we've got Kathy Carter. Good morning. Sean Gardner. Good morning from Engage. Thanks everybody for joining us. All right, seeing no questions, we will also provide Kate's email address, and that was part of the agenda this morning as well. So you can get a hold of her. She's a great resource, and I'm really glad to have met her in different circumstances and other times, so we have a connection to be able to help the community of Montrose through the state of Colorado. So I'm going to now turn it over. Oh, looks like we've got one question here. Yep, Kathy, I see your question, and I may try to answer that here in just a moment. So we'll get back to you, Kathy, from 970 Sports Rewind. All right, we're going to turn it over to Representative Mark Catlin and just give him the floor to talk about businesses from his perspective and perhaps provide a little bit of encouragement for us.
Good morning. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? All right, good. Well, this is all new and different to me. I usually am standing in the parking lot somewhere with people, visiting with them about what's going on in our community. So I may have to start putting this out over the bed of my pickup so that I'll feel comfortable in talking to you. First off, I want to say thank you for inviting me and for giving me an opportunity to speak to some of my friends and neighbors. You know, what I expect to happen from all of this is that we're going to be a lot better business people. I know that sounds tough right now, but you know, going through this fire is probably going to figure out, people are going to figure out whether or not how they want to do business, where they want to do business, and how it's going to look. You know, I've got a lot of faith in Montrose and in the local community, in all the way from the city leadership on down to the folks that are out there trying to make a living. I think the biggest thing that I'm going to talk about is, you know, we've got a special strip of leather in our backbones here on the western slope of Colorado. We've had good times, we've had bad times, and we've gotten through those bad times by us standing together. You know, and I don't want to just talk platitudes. I want to talk about, you know, opportunities where businesses can band together, maybe market together, do some of those kind of things. What this is going to do is it's going to open some avenues. But let's talk about when we start down the descending limb of this virus. One of the things that we're all asking right now is, when is the state going to feel like it can open up and take off this stay-at-home order? That's one of the things that we're pushing for in the legislature right now, is to get some kind of an idea as to when that might happen and what it would look like. We may be pushing it a little early, but you know, I'm a believer in let's get ready. Our community is needing a goal. They need to find a date that they can look at and say, you know, I think it's probably going to happen then, and then have that reassured by leadership in the state of Colorado. We may not be there yet because of the numbers that are happening in regards to the virus. But that's something that we're pushing for. I think that would help all of us. I'm having a little struggle sitting here wondering about, when will this happen? Oh, what's the date? We have to have some goals. And, you know, and one of the things we're pushing for, and I've had some conference calls, I do know that the SBA has stood up a program that will help almost everybody in the community. You know, the Paycheck Protection Program, I've got some information on that if people don't have it. The disaster assistance in response to the coronavirus, some of those documents, I'm sure the state and the city have got them. But we need to let people know that there are places they can go if they feel like they're up against the wall and there's nowhere to turn. That's probably the biggest job that I have right now, is being a source of information, trying to help people find the entry point. The one thing I wanted to remind everybody that's on this conference this morning is, go to your bank. Regardless if they're an SBA lender or not, go in, talk to them about some of these programs, because they're all going to be able to do this. It'll depend upon the bank specific, but there are opportunities for SBA loans and for these interim loans. There's even a program where if you filed for, go check my notes, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Fund, they can within 3 days give you $10,000 as part of the loan. And while it's working its way through, you can get this grant money and maybe keep your doors open. The big thing for me right now is for the people that are in business, stay open. For those of you that were not essential, and you know, that's one of the things that's bothering me, is the name tag that gets hung around our neck. Well, I'm not essential, so what am I supposed to do? You are essential. Maybe during this coronavirus siege, you weren't considered essential, but to our community, you are essential. We need you. We're going to need you worse than ever when this thing dissipates. Don't give up. This is not the time for us to turn away and say, well, I'm out, I'm done. Stay with it. Talk to your bank, talk to city employees, the people in the business departments, talk to them. They're the easiest and quickest interest point that you've got. Is you may not know a bank, or you may not be using one, but that's not necessarily a disqualifier. People that are doing business on doing it by themselves, self-proprietors, people that are one-man show, one-person show, they're qualified. You can get these loans. Now, one of the things that's happening is that if we can continue to pay people's paychecks, the state or the federal government is in a position to help with that. And a lot of those loans are probably going to be turned into grants. This is something we've never done before, but the American ingenuity is starting to show. The federal government is doing things we never expected that it would even be able to do, but we're trying. We're trying to put help out there within arm's length. Granted, they're not going to just come to you and say, well, here's some money to go back and get with it. You have to go apply. You have to do the things that government always has to have happen, but don't give up. If you're having trouble with that, contact the city, contact the county, and get their help with directions as to where to go, how to do, and some of those kind of things. The city has an awful lot of talented people that understand grants, that understand how to write applications, and they will probably be in a position that they can either help you or can point you in a direction where you can get help. Now is not the time to let momentum fall. We feel it around us. We're stuck at home, and it's hard to be energetic. I'm having a struggle with energetic and being like, okay, I'm going to go try this, because it's hard to do from inside my house. But we're finding that we are resilient enough that we can do these kind of things on Zoom, on phone calls, all of the things. I've never done these kind of things. Didn't even think I wanted to. In fact, I didn't want to. But my people need this, so I'm on one of these, trying to figure out what we could do. But know this, the state of Colorado is interested in your success. The United States government is interested in your success. And the local community is definitely interested in your success. I think you're going to see an awful lot of loyalty come back from this. People are going to shop at home. They're going to say, these people stayed open. They took care of me. That's the kind of thing that I think is probably going to come out of this in the long run, is that people are going to recognize how valuable their hometown is, their home county is, and that's where they're going to try to do business. You know, we've studied for a long time leakage and those kind of things out of our local economy. I think you're probably going to see that leakage and those kind of things are probably not going to be as big an issue as they had when things were good. I'm an optimist. I couldn't be living today if I weren't an optimist. And that's what I'm going to ask you all to do, is talk to your neighbors, friends, and relatives. Keep them buoyed up. You know, sometimes I get the blues and I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. Somebody in my household or one of my friends, neighbors, or relatives will buoy me up and say, oh, we can do it. Here we go. You're doing a good job. Tell that to the people that are struggling. You and I have to hold their hand from 6 feet apart or from my house to your house. But we can do this. We're proving that with how many people are on this meeting, the people that put it together, the people from Denver that are calling in and being a part of it. We all are in this together. We will come out of it together. That's probably enough for me.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Mark. And wow, that was exactly what we were needing, I think, and looking for right now. So thank you very much for being here. Looks like we have a couple of questions and a Q&A. A couple of people I'll reach out to after the call and some of the more specific things, but it looks like, does anyone know a business that has applied for EIDL that has received the $10,000 advance? People are saying that they haven't heard of this happening within the 3 days. And Mark and Kate, I don't know if this is an area of your specialty. I haven't had any direct experience with it. Have either of you?
No, I haven't, but it's only been stood up for a very short period of time. So I think to begin with, the first 3 days of this deal was just a mad gold rush. People trying to get in on the websites crashed and all those kind of things. Probably the best place to ask those questions is from the local banks, see if they've had any applications for that. But I do know that that's a part of the program.
Yeah, this is Kate. I don't know that we've seen any of the money actually come out yet, but the Office of Economic Development and International Trade is definitely the best resource on that topic.
Well, you know, I think right now we're in the process of everybody that's interested in this or is needing this, they need to start with those applications, because nothing starts until we start doing, start asking. So pass that on to anybody that's interested in that $10,000 deal, because I think that could be a real boom in places like Montrose, particularly. all over the 58th district, to be truthful.
There we go. I like the don't give up mentality and to just keep pressing forward and just to do the hard things, because, you know, there are a lot of hard things in this, including trying to get funding and grant relief for businesses. And I know even at the local government level, there have been a lot of hard things. So thanks for that encouragement. We have a couple more questions. One question is, does the state have any marketing counsel for tourism and lodging businesses? Key message points to highlight in reaction to COVID-19, collaborative strategies for regions to pursue. I'm going to toss this over to Kate. I know that we talked about this a little bit on a couple of our last calls.
Yeah, the Colorado Tourism Office does have some marketing and tourism grants that they give out. And if you go to their website, you can find that information. And the tourism office is also working right now on what some of the marketing might look like. And I think one of the things that we've heard them talk about is that they're going to be doing a lot of marketing in this coming 6 months around really traveling locally, checking off your bucket list items in Colorado, since we might not quite be to a place where we people are getting on planes again and traveling across the country. So that's a little bit of their strategy right now, and I think that that's evolving as we go.
Yes, I was going to say the same thing. Is sort of what we've put together as a strategy for Montrose from the beginning, and it sounds like the state is doing as well, is to turn inward and to support those communities that are close to us. Once things open up again for tourism and travel, you know, day trips, regional tourism, getting people from the Front Range to come over. And so you will look to see the city focusing on that type of marketing, and then hopefully bringing in some of our tourism partners and businesses like hotels, restaurants, and service providers. And I want to mention too, what Mark said is that all these businesses are essential to our economy here in Montrose, and essential is essential, and it takes us all to keep it going and moving it forward. And so we are just really very much looking forward to having all of those pieces back into place and working together to get the engine operating at full force again. It looks like Nancy Murphy responded that Region 10 has seen EIDL advanced dollars awarded, so that is happening. We had another question about does the city have a plan to help with the mental health fallout from the virus? I think that would help get everything back on track much sooner. Thanks for that question. I think it's Kyle is how you would pronounce your name. We have resources at cityofmontrose.org/community for mental health. The Center for Mental Health here in Colorado, which I know you have an employee here on the call, thank you for being here, is a great resource locally. There are a lot of resources on our website that are also more national and that type of thing. And yes, Kyle, I would agree, this is taking a toll on everybody, even as Mark mentioned, you know, we all get down at times, and I know there are a lot of great collective resources to help keep people engaged and not feeling lonely. And I know the governor also has provided some resources through his social media outlets and that type of thing. Let's see. We have a question, and Mark, you might know the answer to this. How has COVID affected the overall state tax revenue thus far?
We had a conference call yesterday. I think that it's the whole economy is shrinking. So I think we're going to be substantially short of being able to fund the budget as it was originally proposed. We think we're going to go back to the legislature sometime in mid-May, and we'll be working on the budget then. We're waiting on another projection from the state economists to tell us just how short we will end up being. But it's going to be substantial. It'll be $1 billion short is what it looks like. So the idea that the state of Colorado is going to continue to bump along like it has in the past is not going to be the case. We're probably going to see some cuts in programs and maybe not even institute some of the things that have been passed previously. So the answer is it's going to impact the state of Colorado substantially. How bad? We don't know yet. So like they say, stay tuned.
Thank
I
you.
wanted to say something real quickly. I might have, in my anxiousness to say something, that eco-injury disaster loan needs to be applied for through the SBA website. And one of your listeners just reminded me of that. So look up the SBA website and make the applications for that type of money straight to SBA. I see some folks have been turned down by their banks and those kind of things. That website might also help get you some more information, you know, since we're all, it's a good thing we have good broadband over here. But anyway, that's what we're trying to do now, is get you to the SBA and those kind of things, because that's what this is about, is a disaster.
Thanks, Mark. I wanted to take a couple go backs. We are 2 minutes over time, but with regard to mental health, Mark did make some comments about neighbors helping prop neighbors up, and that's just really important. I think business owners checking on business owners, colleagues checking on colleagues, friends checking on friends, family checking on family, reaching out more than you normally would. It's really important to see how they're doing, to see how they're holding up. Everybody's experience is different, yet we're all in it together. We have businesses in our community that are overloaded with more sales than usual, and they're struggling to keep up. And we have, of course, businesses facing closure or businesses that have closed. And so it's important to check on everybody, to reach out to see how they're doing. One thing I wanted to mention is Delta and Montrose together have been hosting calls daily for different industry clusters. And there is one for tourism, which is on Fridays at 3 p.m. And you can get to that through our Facebook page for DART's Facebook, or cityofmontrose.org/COVID-19. Under business resources, you can find out more about all of those type of calls. And other than that, oh yes, so if you notice, our city manager, Bill Bell, is on the call, made a comment about our budget too. We are looking at our 2020 budgeted projects and reprioritizing right now. Conservation of resources will be important for the remainder of the year for us at the city. And thankfully here in the city, we've been very conservative with finances and have a great team managing the money for the city and have adequate reserves to hopefully weather the storm. And so that's because of all the people in the community working together to make that happen. And we're very fortunate to have that here in Montrose, not to mention just a great brain trust of people with great ideas. So I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. Again, we're going to continue these calls every Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. talking about what's happening locally with business resources as we come upon them. This morning, it looks like we had close to 70 people on the call. So thanks for being here. Invite your friends, reach out to us, and we'll try to get all the questions answered if we weren't able to live on the call. Mark and Kate, thank you both for being here very much. We really appreciate your contribution.
Thank you, and keep your daubers up, everybody. We can do this. Hang in there.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Kate. We can totally do this. All right, we'll see y'all next week. Look for an email with notes and links to all the resources we referred to this morning. Have a great Wednesday.